Hey up everybody and welcome back. Right, well, sorry about disappointing you last Sunday, but that was beyond my control. I did the video and I knew it was getting towards being on an hour and I hadn't finished, so I thought, well, we're just going to have to finish off the oil tank next week. So put the video together and it was like 58 minutes. So I uploaded it to YouTube. Now when you do that, you upload the video and then YouTube processes it at its end. Normally it takes, I don't know, 15-20 minutes, something like that. So I uploaded it, set it going, went away. When I came back it said it was 95% processed, so I thought great, went away for a few minutes, came back, still 95% processed. An hour later the same, an hour after that the same. So I googled it, and this getting stuck at 95% processed is a common enough thing. I suppose I should think I'm lucky that in a couple of hundred videos I've never had it happen before. But when people were asking about it, I noticed a few of the answers referred to the size of the file, that once they got to a certain size YouTube had a problem with them. So anyway, I put it up at like lunchtime on Sunday as usual. Today's Monday. I just went to it and it still was 95% processed. So I deleted that. I split the video in two and then I uploaded it, and that's why you got it on Monday, which is today, but for you is last week if you follow that. So a lot of what you're going to see in this video was actually done last week. I think I managed to break it in a reasonably logical point, and I put the little note on at the end for you. So all we're going to do with it this week is put the filler cap on that, weld the top on, and make a couple of brackets for it. So we're going to do that, and as you will see at the end of the video, I got the pipe / tube bender thing. But I'm not going to show you it now because I actually showed it at the end of last week's video, so you'll see that a bit further on. Alright, what else? Rear suspension units have come, so we'll pop them on just to see what they look like. What else has happened? Nothing much. So let me press on, and I promise this week, oh, glad you like the foxes. See, that showed me, I put those up on Sunday and it went up fine, no problem. So it was just, I'm sure it was the size of the file. Anyway, I'm waffling again, so let's get on and finish this oil tank. So now I've set up to weld it. I've got a clamp on, it's marked in place, got a clamp on it, and there's the hole lined up. So this is the base, that's going to go there, point to the front. So I'll just get this welded on and then I'll bring you back. That last bit of video was Tuesday. This is now Thursday, because Wednesday was a complete and utter disaster. All I did was made scrap. Got the bottom done, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the piece on it that goes there and there, which is that piece there. So let me weld that on, and then I've still got to fathom out how to do the return lines. There, look at that. I really do not know what was going on yesterday. Anyway, let us proceed. Right then, this oil tank is continuing to annoy me. I've got it clamped in where that part's going to go, and I made up the other piece of this. See, it's 1/4 inch there to feed into that, and that's the size of this little pipe here that goes up to the rocker feed. But where to put it is the thing. Now I've also found out that there must have been some flex in the cardboard that I didn't notice, because when I went to put up this side it just went nowhere near. You remember it had 2 bends in it, like that. Well, I've had to cut that piece off because it was so far out, and I've had to put a bend in from corner to corner, and now it goes in. So I'll have to build this up a bit at a time, which is incredibly annoying, but not as annoying as yesterday. I was actually throwing things around yesterday, having a real hissy fit. So we come back to where we're going to put this. Now I've been thinking about putting this underneath as well, so that the return line will come up, go to that, and then the one will come off there and just go up the other side of this tube. Then what I have to do, of course, is put a piece of tube in here for the return. And I wish I'd thought of this before, because now I'm not giving myself a lot of room again to weld in here. And I must admit, my welding with a little more finesse, if you like, such as welding a piece of tube that size onto there, isn't brilliant. Eyesight, shakes, all the rest of it make for... so that's not going to go on the inside, that's going to go on the outside. So that would go down there, somewhere like that. I've got something in here setting this up so I can't push it all the way under. But let me drop you down. And zoom you in a bit. There you go. That's about your focus, I think. So anyway, if I put that there, look, put it a bit further under, I can have that go down to there. If it's in more, it gives me more of a curve. And then, as I said, the other side, the small pipe will just come out and go up the other side, a bit of flexible tube to reach to the rocker feed. So let me give this some more thinking, and we'll come back. See, I don't want to weld this piece in here until I've decided what I'm going to do there, because that would even more restrict how I could get in to do this welding. Alright, I found a way to route all the hoses necessary, so they went on like that. But as you can see, the sides aren't on because I couldn't get this to weld it. So I just cut through that weld. So I'll put the sides back on. This tube goes up. Hang on, how much can you see? Give you a bit more. This tube goes up more or less into the filler cap, and the end is sealed off and there's a hole drilled there. So now we've got the return goes in here, up there you get this little bit of back pressure, and that's a slightly smaller hole. I hope I'm keeping all this in shot. And then we have the smaller hole, and so that's going to be like that. The two hoses come up from sort of underneath the gearbox into those two, and then this one comes out, does a little bit of a curve, and then goes up by the seat pillar tube into the rockers. So let me put these sides back on. Right, Saturday morning, 42 degrees this morning. Okay, I put that piece back on, and I put this piece in now. So all I have to do is the sort of back piece to that and the piece that's of the old mudguard that's going to go in, and then we've got to build the top. So we'll see what we can get done today. Hang on, let me move you around a second. Look, there we go again. Perfect weld. Anyway, let me have a look at this back piece, see what we can do there. And there's the back piece tacked onto there. I did it that way because it would have been difficult to get in to do everything, so I'm going to weld it up, and then we'll offer this up to the back and get everything fitted right. Right, we've got that welded in there, so let's see about fitting it in the back of the oil tank. Right, well, we're almost done. Everything is welded in, but for some reason that didn't work out right. which surprises me, but everything's welded up nicely. I just checked it fits in, so I've got to cut a piece to go in there and weld it in, and then we can make the top and site where we're going to put the filler cap and the little vent. Right, I've put that last little piece in, so the top is now completely level. Everything's right, it's welded up on the inside, it's welded up there. I've dressed that weld and that weld there, so they look fine. Maybe do a little touch here and there, but everything's looking good. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to lay this on a piece of cardboard to mark out the top, and while I've got the cardboard there, I'm going to press it down so that I get a mark there, and that is where I'm going to make the filler cap. Right then, well, I've made a template. As I say, I just drew around it, it was nothing special. That's going to be cut out in alloy, and there's where the hole's going to be, so that when you take the stopper out, you're going to be able to see the oil coming back through this here. So let me cut a piece of, let's say it's the 90 thou, not the 60, so 3 thou stuff. And that's going to be the last thing I'll do this week. So next week we'll make the filler cap, and we'll make a little vent thing for this, and we'll make some brackets for it and some other bits and pieces. Right then, we're all set to cut an 1.5 inch hole, or at least we will be when I put this where it wants to be. Just like that. I mean, this doesn't have to be exact, but I have popped it, so I'm going to put another parallel under there. It's an awkward shape to grip, and it's a bit close to the edge, so I had to put a thin parallel in there. So let's put another one in crosswise a bit to give it. Hang on, that's a different size, Michael. What size is that? That's the right size for that. You know, I would have had all this done if Wednesday hadn't disappeared. But, you know, that's life, innit? Hang on. That's better. There were some chips underneath the things. So I'm going to hold it as well. I have to turn the speed down. Here's the plastic. Alright. There we go, that was better. Right, so I'll clean the edges of that hole up, and we'll start with that next week. But before you go, I'm going to show you something. Right, we're going to do the brackets first, because this little thing you can see here is a clamp. Without the top on, I can clamp it up. If I put the top on, I have nowhere to clamp it to see where I want the brackets. So, The wheel's up at full bump. There's that tyre. I've got a new tyre's about 1/4 of an inch wider than this one. So that's an 1/8 either side, and we've got almost 1/2 inch that side clearance and 3/8 that side. So we're going to be all right there, and we've got plenty of space inside. Okay, so let me take that off, and that's, as I say, that's at full bounce, and with it pushed in as far as it'll go this way, the wheel. Okay, oh, battery's nearly dead. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to make a piece to go onto here, and then a mounting up at the top. So we'll make a piece like that, which will go on, and this bolt will go right through it, so it'll be clamped both sides, it'll go right across, we'll weld it to here. Then when that's on nicely, I'll think of something to mount it at the top. So let's measure this and bend a piece for it. Alright, so I bent up a piece, and I'll admit it took me 2 efforts. First one, this is 1/8 inch, I bent it and it was an 1/8 inch too long. So I took a little more care about where I bent it on the marks this time, and that fits on there nicely like that. So that's going to go on there like that. Hang on, let me pull you back, I guess. And then that is going to go in there like that. Right, that'll get welded on there. It'll be back like that a little bit, actually. So that'll be like that, and then our oil lines will come out here. It's still a bit touch and go on the other side, I have to admit, with that rocker return, so we're going to have to look at that. Oh, that's where that went. Right, so the next thing for me to do is to drill a couple of holes in this. We're 7/8 of an inch from there to the centre, because this is 1 3/4. So I'll measure 7/8 from the inside, don't forget, because if I measured 7/8 from the outside, I'd have an 1/8 there. So I've got to measure, well, I can measure 1 inch from there, and then we'll centre this. Then we'll bolt that on, or at least push a bolt through, offer the oil tank up and mark where it goes. So there it is on, bolt through. So all I've got to do is mark it, and then I'll go and tack it, and then we'll check it, and then if that's all good, we'll weld it up. Right, let's make sure nothing moved, although I put about 5 little marks on. There we go. All right, let me weld that up, and then I've got to think where to put the other brackets. I might put the top on next. We do the top, and then we can mount the brackets to the top. Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, this thing continues to annoy me. Okay, I've welded that on. Don't worry about that little pinhole. Don't forget this is just welded on the outside. So, there's the top. 1.5 inch hole saw, 1.5 inch tube. Now, as it turns out, that is going to be a help, because after I'd made the cardboard template, what I didn't check was if this hole was clear of the 2 frame tubes, because you remember the tubes are coming close together like this. It just clears, but not a lot. So what I'm going to do when I put this on, because I've got space, I'm going to tilt it over a little bit, like that. Now also, I normally use 1.5 inch tube like this, and then I normally have some 2 inch alloy round, or 1 3/4, to make a filler cap that's a little bit bigger, but I don't have any. But I do have some 1.5 inch solid. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the length of this. We are sort of going to waste it. So we're going to cut it to length. We're going to make it into a piece of tube. But even though that's pretty thick walled, what I'm going to do is make it even thicker walled so that I can leave it at 1.5 inches there, but just up from here I'm going to turn it down a little bit less so that it's, I don't know, 1.25 inches or whatever, and give myself just that 1/8 of an inch for when I make a top out of this. Proud of the tube, just makes it easier to get hold of. You'll see it all as I do it. So it's our first thing. Let's get this machined to make the tube that goes in there. So here's our piece of 1.5 inch round. I've turned it down to 1.25 inches and I've just put a little bit of smooth part on it, just a little, whatever you would call it, a little slope there. So what I'm going to do now is drill this out to a little bit more than 1 inch. We're going to make it 1 inch long. This little piece here, which is still 1.5 inches, is going to fit into the top of the tank, and this is going to be the neck for the filler cap to go in. Filler cap's going to be 1/4 inch thick here and the full inch deep, and it's going to be, that's going to be bored out as well, so it's going to be basically hollow. So what we're going to do now is drill this a couple of different sizes, then bore it out with a boring bar to get it to my inch. I've got a 15/16 drill, I think. Then this next piece, we'll turn that down to the 1 inch to fit into here, and then leave a little piece that's 1.5 inches, and then we'll bore that and then part that off. Alright, so let's do some drilling. I've already put a start there with a starting drill, so we're going to use about 1/4 inch one. Just bang my finger as well, look at that. So this is going to go in we can go in 1 inch and a bit. Something like that to get us. So start at 1/2 inch, so that will be 2.25. Start the plug up there, pull it out. Actually we're starting at 3/4, so if I want 1.25 inches, that's 2 inches it's got to go through. Okay, so that's that. Actually 7/8 is the biggest I've got. These. There we go. Now, because of where the lathe is in the workshop, it's difficult to get it so you can see what's going on here. So anyway, I've started to do the boring. Stood there wondering why it wasn't boring, and of course I'd wound the cross slide that way instead of outwards. So that's 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 62 and a half. So this is taking the 1/8 inch off. I've got the stop set for the depth, so that's what I'm watching now. Right, that should be 1 inch. I'll measure it properly in a moment. A little bit more to go. Now I've taken it out to just over 1 inch, so I can make the bung to be 1 inch with its O-ring on, and it'll be a nice fit. So we'll just part this off. Chamfer on there, scrape the edge. Seems to take longer than you think it will. There we go. And there we have our filler neck. Okay, so let's make the stopper for it now. Now I'll turn this piece down. This is going to be the stopper. So that's I want it to be a loose-ish fit on that, because what we're going to do is we're going to put an O-ring on that. So there's the right sized O-ring for in there. So about there. I find 1 O-ring's enough. It makes it a good firm enough fit. So this is I think 1/8, memory serves me right, for thickness. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the cut-off tool to make a groove the ID is 3/4, because an eighth and an eighth, that's a quarter, right? So we'll cut in and we'll take it to just what's where are we? 3/4, that's an eighth, that's 125. We'll take it in about 120, so it's just slightly proud. There'll be a tight fit in that. I've started to cut it. The cut off tool's an eighth, so that's just a little bit tight in there. So let me take it down and then we'll move over slightly and just widen that. So I'm going to take it down to 120. Actually, I've taken it to 115. And then we'll move it over just a fraction. We'll go in there to 115 as well. That's just a nice fit in there. So let's pull that out. Just break these edges. Like that. Putting this on. Okay. See what I mean? That is not going to come off. That's a really good fit. Might take a couple more thou off, just so that it seats a little bit further. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I've cut a little bit of a groove. Can you see that? This 1/4 inch here is going to be knurled. So I'll put a knurling tool in. This one isn't brilliant. I keep meaning to buy another one. I used to have a nice one that pivoted so it went on spot on, but see how that looks. Not brilliant. I don't think it's quite centered. Okay, well I'll press on, I'll do that, and then I'm going to drill in the end. Pointless you watching all this. Drill up the end a little bit and then I'll part it off. And there we go. So I'll fill a cap, that would be like that. It is. Now the rim, so pull it out. You need to have a reasonably thick wall there because you want this to be pretty solid. You know, you could, if you had a thinner wall and you had a good tight fit, chances are you'd distort the wall as you pushed it in and pulled it out. So anyway, there we go. All done very nicely, I think. Actually, that's a little bit tight. When they've got a bit of oil on them, they tend to go in a little easier. Okay, so the next thing is to weld this into the top. As I want this to tip over a little bit, you can see how much bigger this hole is. What I'm going to do, see that little arrow there, I want it to tip this way a little bit. So I'm just going to tack it on that side while that's there, and then I can lean this over and then weld it. This is the underside. So let me tack it and get that done. So there we have that welded on there. So now I've got filler cap on, and if you can see, it slopes to one side. That's still a bit tight, even with some oil on it. Oh, that's better. Okay, so now we need a vent, and we've got to look at how we're going to put some top mountings on. Let's take it over the bike. That's it in place. It's just very slightly warped the top of this. Nothing that, because it's this long thin shape and everything, nothing that I can't deal with. See, that wants to go down, but got to be about 1/16 of an inch higher than the tube. So when I make the seat pan, I'll have to just have it raised very slightly. Okay, so if that's going to be like that, we've got two mounts at the bottom. I'd like to have a mount at the back. I wonder if I can slip a mount up onto this. Underneath the mudguard, maybe. Let's put the mudguard on, see what things look like. I need to take a fraction more off the mudguard, and the saddle will come down a little bit, so you won't see that gap at all. The saddle will be like on my beezer, it'll come over just down to about there. Now then, could I put a mount on the back of there? It's possible, I think. Have it welded on the top and then just come up and actually sandwich the mudguard. And then that would be amply solid. I'm sure it would. Could put one here. At the back here, I could put one like there is for the mudguard, for the silencer on the other side. Have a piece here. Go through to there. Right, but I think whatever way I'm going to do it, they're going to be on top. I was thinking about making the type of insert that I use on mine, but in the top, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. So what I'm going to do is make a little vent thing, and then we'll weld this top on. We'll just give it that little tweak so it sits properly, and then weld that on. And then we'll see. But it's getting on, and I know we're having dinner early tonight because Linda has a conference call, so we'll call that it for the day. So I made up another little one of these things for the vent, so that's going to go on there. Little tube will go down there because you don't need much to vent it, and it'll get welded on underneath. Alright, so let me do that. Well, that's on there now, but I have to say it was another pretty poor job. Look, came through. I don't know what's going on here. Oh well, let's get this welded on the top of the tank. At least it'll be under the seat, you won't see it. So, there's the top welded on. And yet again, look at that. Virtually all the way around. Spot on. So anyway, glad to see that finished. Well, now we have one bracket to put on the top, so let's go and put it on the bike and start marking up for that. Right, so this is the bolt that's on that nice bracket up there. So what have I done? Oh, there it is. Here's just a rough template. See, that's going to go onto that, and it's going to be welded to the oil tank. I don't know whether to put it on the inside here or on the other side of that. It's going to be 1/8 of an inch thick. Yeah, maybe it would be better to put it on the other side. This mudguard can move 1/8 of an inch there. Alright, I'll take the mudguard off and we'll make the bracket to fit and get it welded on. So I've bent up a piece. So that is going to go, it's going to go in this way. That's going to bolt to there. I found that I couldn't have it just straight because of the way the tube was. I had to make it bend around, so it's going to have to go on the outside of the mudguard, but that doesn't matter. So we'll put that in there like that. I'll mark it on the tank. Let me bring it around. There it is on the inside, on the top of the oil tank. So let me mark it and tack it, and then check that it's in the right place, and then I can weld it on. Right, well, so there it is, all finished with its bracket on. I gave it a quick buff, but as you can see, there's a lot of marks still got to come out. There's a slight crease in that as well when I bent it the wrong way. Anyway, let's see, we've got our new thing on. So that goes in there. I'm on the bolts around this side. Well, if you're worried about all this green tape on my hand, I did catch my knuckle, as I mentioned. I think I showed you maybe last week, the last video, and the elastoplast coming off. So I just stuck a couple bits of tape on to hold the elastoplast on. Alright, now then, let's have a look, see. That goes on there like that. That, they're in there, so now we want our 5/16. What have we done with that? There it is. That's going to go on there, that top bracket. Through the mudguard, through the mounting. Bolt on there. There's our filler cap. That doesn't look half bad. Now then, as I mentioned, also what came was our rock shocks. So I made that the right length. There you go. Starting to look something like. Alright, so that's all that done. Got some minor tidying up to do, but you saw how we've made footrests. I've got footrests. bag of footrests. So we have the footrests and the mountings and springs and everything. So we'll put the footrests on. Oh yeah, one other thing we've got to do, not exactly a major thing, but it's a main thing, is put the suspension units on so this will stand, because I'm going to take the engine stand out the way and we're going to cut this to the length we need. Actually, it's probably only going to need about half an inch off, funnily enough, for the bash plate, because we've got to make a mounting piece, a cross piece here, that the bash plate can go on. And obviously I can't do it with the engine stand in the way. So there you go. Is that as far out? Yeah, see if I can move you backwards and bit. There we go. Oh, the wheel rim and spokes arrived yesterday afternoon. So next week, as I say, it'll be all the little bits and pieces. The week after that, we'll do the wheels. Then during that period, I'll take this apart, finish off all the bits of bronzing. And then, I guess we can do the prop stand, because I'll be able to, once the wheels are done with the tyres on, I can lean it over to where it wants to be. We've got to make a brake pedal. I might leave that for the moment until I've got the engine in and I know where the kickstart is going. So that might be a very last thing. Same as the the chain guard and the chain tensioner, because I want to know where the chain's going to be. So I'm going to have to order a sprocket, things like that. Alright, so that's everything for this week. Don't go away, because there's going to be a couple of minutes of me from last week showing you the tube notcher. Alright, so let's go and look at the tube notcher.